I'm a member of the HazArt Glaze Waste Recycling Project. I'm here today to show you how our Learning Service Project group took glaze waste materials and recycled them by creating stepping stones to house the material so that we could fire it so it would become inert. So the first step to making the stepping stones is you need to get stoneware clay. Here in the ceramic studio, we get it out of the square bin, usually. Once you have your pile of clay, you bring it over to the wedging table so that you can wedge it or knead it so that it can be used. Here at the wedging table, you start by kneading the clay in the shape of a ram's head. So while you're wedging the clay, you want to wedge it so that it's in the shape of a ram's head. This is the easiest style of wedging. You curl the ends in like this, and then we're going to use some grog and add it to the clay body mixture. And this is going to strengthen the clay mixture so that it can take the extreme temperature changes with the glaze waste in it. And you just keep wedging it until it's thoroughly mixed in. Another thing you can do to strengthen the clay is by compressing it. Compressing it helps to strengthen it along with the wedging process. As you wedge it with the grog, it's going to become more resistant and harder, so you have to increase the amount of strength that you're using. Once you've finished wedging your clay, you want to beat them to a size like this, so that way they're nice and flat. It's better for the slab roller. You do this by throwing it down and picking it back up, and throwing it back down and picking it back up, and you can get this shape from that process. So you're going to take these pieces of canvas, you're going to line up the two seamed edges and check and see where the writing is. Make sure that both sides that are facing each other both say stoneware, like right here. Side of the table, and begin the feeding process. Okay, now we're ready to roll the clay. We're going to take it like this. We'll put it as close to the rollers as we can. Always make sure that you use canvas. You never want to put raw clay against the metal rollers. They do not like this, and neither does whoever the shop assistant may be, because they have to clean off all of the teeth that are in the roller. So once you've patted it down, you're going to grab this side of the material. So you always want to check and make sure visibly that the roller is even from this side to this side, making sure that it's going to be an even slab and it's not going to be slanted one way or the other. You're going to grab the canvas and you're going to start rolling and keep rolling. Now, you always want to check and make sure that the clay isn't squeezing out the side here, because again, if you're pulling it and it's still coming out, it'll come in contact with these rollers, and that's a big no-no. We want to avoid that. And voila, you have your slab of clay. Next, you're going to need to make sure that you have a wooden bat. These are used for the wheel, but we're going to use them as a stencil. Next, you're going to need to make sure that you have a cutting tool. I'm using a needle tool. Go ahead and cut out your circular shape, and this is going to act as the top of your stepping stone, this piece that we're cutting out. Next, you're going to grab a wood, and we're going to make, this is going to act as our edges of the stepping stone. You're going to make a bowl-like shape, which will hold the glaze waste material, and then once you turn that bowl shape upside down, it's more like a casserole dish than a bowl, then you're going to have a stepping stone. After you've cut out all of your pieces, you're going to want to come over to the wedging table again, or whatever workspace you happen to be in, and you want to roll out a coil that's going to be big enough to go around your entire stepping stone. That looks about the right size. So, now that we have all of our parts cut out, our stepping stone face and its walls and the coil, you're also going to need to have a sponge, a metal and or wooden rib, that's what these are called, these are for smoothing the surface, and you're going to want to have a needle tool or a knife or other cutting tool. So we're going to start by taking the needle tool and just scoring the edges around the stepping stone face. This is going to create a bit of a more abrasive surface for the clay to attach to. This method is called scoring and slipping, where you score by making indentations in the clay surface, and then you're going to take this side and you can go and score the side that's going to be actually attached to the face, and take your sponge, wet the surface. That creates a slippery surface, and you compress and attach the edge to the stepping stone face. And the next step is going to include attaching a wall to another wall. So again, you do the score and slip method. And this time, when you push it up against the face, you also want to push it up against the wall that you're joining it to. You smooth the edges and the creases where the seams meet. I always cut out more than I need so that you're not stuck not having enough. Putting in the coil is very easy. You just take it and push it down into the corners of the stepping stone. This is going to act as a strengthening bond between the face of the stepping stone, or base, depending on which, if it's upside down or right side up, and the walls. While you're pushing down into the crease, you're going to want to put your other hand on the other side to support the stepping stone wall. Now, the next step is actually probably one of the most important. This is making sure that everything is compressed and all of your edges are smoothed out, all of your seams are nice and smooth. This is going to ensure a finished look on your stepping stone. Once it's had a chance to dry out in the sun or on its own for about a half an hour or so, you have this product where you can actually flip it over and smooth out these edges on the bottom, because you're going to have a joint I can lift this one up, I'll show you what I mean. This joint right here is what you're going to want to smooth out whenever you're able to flip it over on its back side. And this is the way it's going to sit in the ground. So you take the sponge, you wet the edges, and you smooth. Sometimes you might need to take a little bit of extra clay if there's a big indent and just fill in the cracks, because you're going to want to make sure you do this all about in the same day, because if you let it dry too much, then putting wet clay and dry clay doesn't work, because it dries at different speeds and it needs to dry together to be in the same stage all the time. This one right here that's still wet and malleable, this is greenware. Well, everything before it's fired is called greenware. This is the leather hard stage, where it's hard enough that I can flip it over, but it's not yet ready to be fired. Once it's bone dry, which is where it's a lighter color and all the moisture has evaporated, then it's ready to be fired in the kiln. Once they've been fired, this is what it'll look like. It's no longer greenware, it's more of a pinkware, and it's a little bit stronger. See how all the finished edges look like a finished product? Our next step is going to be putting glaze waste in here. This is what the glaze waste and the stepping stone looks like before it's fired in the gas kiln. This will go in the gas kiln, and all this glaze waste that is right now hazardous to the environment will be rendered inert or no longer hazardous to the environment.